The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
So many Formula One World Championships have been decided at Suzuka. It's been the scene of the jubilation of victory and the angst of defeat. Today, it might yet again decide a number of championships as the points fight in Autobahn's 3 classes hinge on the results of today's race. Will anyone seal the deal, or will they go down to the wire 2 weeks from now in Motegi? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 13 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sports Car Challenge, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Pekin. With me in the booth today is Soup and Sandwiches. Bill Soup Zahn covering the prototype and GT1 classes, and Samuel Sandwiches Ryman covering the GT3s. Behind the scenes is our director Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sam, this unique figure 8 course seems to either click or clash with certain drivers. What is it that makes this circuit so often described as a driver's track?
Well, I wonder if some drivers like counterclockwise circuits and some drivers like clockwise circuits, so they're always going to hate half of it around here. Seriously though, it just has a wide variety of corners and straights, as you'll see in our track map here. Some a lot tougher. I mean, just look at it. That's all you need to do. Just look at that track map and you'll understand why some drivers, myself being one of them, do have a tendency to struggle around here. There's a few passing opportunities. The track is 3.6 miles in length, 5.8 kilometers, 17 turns. Don't quite know how the number's not more there when you look at the picture on your screen. And we're going to be racing for 90 minutes today, so the drivers are going to get to know all of those turns quite well. Let's give you a refresher on the turns of a Suzuka circuit with our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Heading down into turn 1, it's a fast kink and bleeds straight into turn 2. Going too wide into here will be difficult and dangerous. The draft may give you an opportunity, but someone will need to back out or else it's bad news. Lots of banking here in 2 to really carry your speed. After that, you're sent straight into the S's where the line is absolutely critical to a good lap time. With each corner flowing into the next, it's all about setting up for the following turn. Perhaps the most important of these is the final right-hander, where you need to hug the right side to allow yourself a good run into Dunlop Corner. In a GT3 car, it's flat out all the way up to Degner 1, so getting a bad exit out of the S's could leave you vulnerable. Plus, you'll see Degner 1 here is tight and fast. It's another corner that's risky to attempt going through too wide. It also leads straight into Degner 2. It's the slower corner, but more heavily embanked and rewards drivers who can carry their speed over the apex. Now we've got a little kink leading into the hairpin. This is a potential passing zone, but predicting your opponent's line can sometimes be difficult, and drivers are often caught out by a sudden defensive move. Regardless, coming out of the hairpin is another place where a good exit can be extremely important. Once again, we're going to be flat to the floor all the way through turn 12. As you reach the end of it, you'll want to drift the car to the right to set up for spoon curve. This double apexer has a fast entry and a difficult threshold. Cars spinning off after going over the limit is not an uncommon sight. And just to pile on more pressure, it dumps the car onto the backstretch. Once again, the car behind will be catching your slipstream, so once you're confident you can get the power down, you better do it. Like most important turns on this track, it leads to a fast corner where being side by side can be extra dangerous. The infamous 130R requires incredible commitment and accuracy to hit your marks. And as you exit, you'll pull the car across the track and get ready for the Casio Triangle. This is another place where passes are common, but with it being a chicane, when anyone fights back, you're both going to have to give each other room and respect to come out intact. From here, we simply power down around the final corner since we've hit the pit straight, and as long as you've managed to keep it on the black stuff and pointed forwards, you've completed the lap around Suzuka. That's a pretty decently long lap around here at Suzuka that the drivers will have to deal with. Now, to get us up to speed on the points championship, which is finally coming down to the wire, let's go to the man that is always on a California roll, Soup Zahn.
And a little sissy joke here for Japan. Very good, Joe. Well, this is round 13 of Schedule 14, but you know there's still that pending re-race of the aborted Le Mans event that is still up undetermined yet so far. So let's start by looking here at the big boys in the prototype class, where any one of the top 3 drivers could still win this thing. Talon's Bob the Blade Tinsey is out in front. You know, he has 3 wins this season. Autobahn West John Big Cheese Ulmer, he's got 4 wins, and I tossed to Jason Girard. He has 3 wins. All of those came early on, though, for Girard. Clan OAD's Alex Simonik is 4th, and Daniel Gralty of SRN Motorsports is 5th. The only other driver to has a win this season was Daniel Benefield, who picked that up at Imola earlier on. Let's go to the GT1s, and it's all swirly here, and of course I'm talking about rookie Wojciech Swiatowicz. The privateer has scored 5 wins and has a 70-point lead over defending champion and 3-time winner TMC Carbon Stephen McGarvey. Now Wojciech is not going to be here tonight, but he has 29 points sitting in his pocket, so that should ensure that he remains in the lead going into the next round. Billy Smith II is 61 points out of the lead. The Autobahn Motorsports driver is still searching for his first victory. Talon Motorsports, Brandon Postma sits in 4th. His best finish this season was a 2nd at Monza. Ryan Huff rounds out the overlay, while yet to podium, the SRN Motorsports driver has been very consistent. Other winners in this class have been Paul Oh My Darling, who has 2 wins, but now races in the GT3s, and Troy Schuster. Moving to those GT3s, and it's privateer Laura Costa. He's got a 25-point lead over Rainier Racing's Bradley Haley. Haley picked up his 2nd win of the season last time out at Phillip Island, compared to Costa, who has 5. So doing the math, that's 7 wins between them. So where have the other come from? Well, not from 3rd place driver Sheldon Rosenbaum, whose best result came at Montreal when the Autobahn East driver finished just behind the winner, TMC Crimson's Dave Hill, who sits in 4th. Robert Jackman of TMC Carbon is winless and rounds out the overlay. As for the other winners, Itasha Motorsports' Patrick Fleming, he won the season opener, and privateer Benjamin Hackison has 2. So let's now go to the team championship. Look at that real quickly, and you can see that everyone holds station there, and it's pretty much, this one's going to be tough for anyone to catch Talon Motorsports. TMC Carbon racing back there in 2nd place. They're in a real close battle with Autobahn West. Only 2 points separates them for 2nd position. The cousin team of Autobahn West is the East team. They're 165 points back in 4th. And then finally, the once leading the overlay, now down there at the very bottom, Itasha Motorsports in 5th. Joe?
So you can see it's a little bit complicated with the drop weeks, making it a little not as clear-cut as we would like with drivers looking close on paper, but drivers, of course, will inherit those points no matter what, including Robert Tinsey being one of those with quite a few pocket points in hand. Now, Sam, there's a few places that drivers can pass around here. Every one of them, to me, seems like they have a bit of an asterisk next to them. It's a great place to pass, but...
Yeah, there are a few passing opportunities, as you mentioned. The first turn, as is typical with Grand Prix courses, is usually a great passing opportunity. But then after that, there's not a whole lot. Now, that's not to say there aren't straights around here, but they always seem to have a bit of a hill or a bit of a curve, such as what we see Ryan Bird going down here. It starts with a hill, and then this is 130R. Really not a turn where you want to attempt an ambitious pass, and as St. Alan Prost learned in 1989, the final chicane also not the best place to attempt a pass unless you both agree on who is going to come out of a chicane ahead. So we're going to be in for an interesting race, Joe, because there's going to be places for the faster traffic to get by some of the slower classes. But then I think we're also going to see some drivers getting bulked by the slower classes.
Certainly will make it tough with all this inter-class traffic as we watch the last chance qualifying work its way through. And these drivers are ones that have not put a lap in their allotted time for qualifying for their class, each of them getting 15 minutes earlier on during this session. So this is mixed class qualifying out there right now, live happening with 5 minutes to go on the clock. Now, Bill, you mentioned that it looks tight in those prototypes, but with Tinsey having literally 60 points sitting in his pocket, I almost feel like for Ulmer and Girard to have a chance to take the championship, at least assuming that we only have this round and the next one, they almost need a perfect race here.
Yeah, Tinsey's lead is really misleading. He has been so consistent. He's barely missed a podium. I think he's only missed a podium once. What this all could come down to, Joe, and I know we're trying to downplay it, but we got to talk about it, is what happens with Le Mans if they are going to re-race that. And it looks like they're talking about it. Looks like that is going to be a go. That's going to give these guys one more chance to try to run him down. But yeah, even if Tinsley were to falter because of how the pocket points lay out, because of drop races, it really comes down to even not only getting the wins, but also the bonus points for being on pole.
Indeed, so it's going to have to be hard work for our second and third place drivers in the points championship. For those not familiar with the Autobahn series, let's go over real quick with the race details. The three classes are the HPDs, the prototypes up at the top. GT1s are mixed between the Aston Martins and the Corvettes. And then the GT3s include the Ford GT, GT3, and the Mercedes AMG. Now, granted, I believe we only have one Aston Martin and one Ford GT, so a little bit lopsided in those. 90-minute race today, which is the longer of the two formats that this series runs. They have limited fuel, so we expect 2 stops for all classes, GT3 being the only one that might be a question mark there. They have 1 fast repair, so if you get damaged throughout the race, you can come in, get a fresh car at any point. Of course, you don't want to use that too early. 36 incident limit, and they might need that here today with it being so easy to make a mistake around here. As for the weather, looking at our screen, 75-degree air temperature, 79-degree track temperature. Sam, that is going to make it pretty lovely in terms of grip for the drivers today, I assume.
Yeah, the only problem that you've really got to watch out for when you have cold racetracks is that the tyres, when they roll out of pit road or roll off for the start of a race, might not be quite up to temperature, and then you kind of just skate over the cold track surface. Now, of course, the good news there is that it will be a rolling start, so the drivers will all have an opportunity to warm up their tyres on the pace lap. However, the area of concern, I think, would come when it comes to the decision to take tyres during the middle of a race and you're rolling out of pit road on cold tyres. And I have a feeling, Joe, as such a technical racetrack today for a 90-minute race, you're going to want to take tyres at some point.
Indeed, and I'm pretty sure that that's a smart call. We know that Dexter Castro used to like to throw caution to the wind on these sometimes and try and do it on one set in the GT3s. Him not racing in this series anymore. We don't really have many that try to gamble on that. As for the GT1s, Bill, we've seen Billy Smith manage to get a second at Phillip Island. It's been a while though before since he's been up at the top, and unfortunately it looks like he's not going to be here today, so I don't know why I put that in my points. So let's go to a different point actually.
Well, with him, it's interesting though, with him missing and as well as Swirly missing, that could open the door to some of these drivers that usually don't pick up points.
Certainly could. In fact, another driver that I don't see here that's been showing up consistently recently is Matthew Epstein, who was looking at a potentially very good finish last time around. Unfortunately, had to take third in the Cookie Monster machine. Doesn't seem like he is going to be out there today, sadly. Sam, going over to the GT3s, for the first time, we saw fuel be an issue for Costa. That's usually his strong point, but wasn't the case at Phillip Island.
Yeah, no, he fell just one lap short. I wonder if the championship pressure is starting to get to him a little bit. And that will be interesting to see if he can hold on ahead of Haley during the race today. We'll read down our grid in just a moment, but I'll tell you now, Costa has outqualified Haley in GT3. Very upsetting, Joe, to hear that the Cookie Monster car isn't going to be here in GT1s today, but then I think we've milked a bunch of Cookie jokes for the last few races.
And had to get one more in, I'm sure. Only 40 seconds left on the clock here in qualifying. You can see our top 10. That's pretty much, that's all HPDs that you see there on the top 10 qualifying. Jimbo Pfeiffer out there trying to get himself a little bit higher than 10th. Jason Gerard is here. He was sitting in the pit lane, but he has exited now. Oh, and we understand that he isn't racing, so then that means it is going to be between Ulmer and Tinsley to fight for the championship here. That's interesting. Surprising, since Jason is usually so fond of the Japanese tracks. And I'm getting a message that it sounds like Gerard was racing in the 24 Hours of Spa, and he is a little bit too tired from that, so he won't be able to take part. Well, so looks like one of those things that you don't really see elsewhere in the real racing world there, Bill, where even though other races can sometimes conflict and take drivers away, but you don't usually have someone say, "Oh, sorry, I ran a 24-hour race. I can't jump over to this one a few hours later."
Well, that's certainly the case. Good news for the other guys that he's racing with right now, though. And pocket points, he's not sitting quite as well with pocket points, so that's going to really hurt his championship hopes.
Checkered flag is out, and Jimbo Pfeiffer will be able to finish his hot lap here as he works his way around the hairpin and then up towards Spoon. He's still sitting in 10th. Surprised to see him that far down, especially with him usually being pretty good with these high-powered, high-downforce machines as he comes out of Spoon and heads up the hill. Working his way towards 130R, Sam.
Yeah, there you see on screen 1:48.0 is his fastest time. That's 2.5 seconds behind Ulmer. However, if he wanted to move up 2 spots, he only has to pick up 7/10. That sounds like a lot here, Joe, but with such a long and technical track, a good lap can actually gain you about half a second.
He's coming out of the final corner. What can he do as he comes to the line? Is that 1:48.0 improve? The answer is no. He is going to start in 10th, and I believe that is the last of our cars. So let's go through the grid, starting with the prototypes. John Ulmer is starting on the pole, having gotten himself at least some sort of leg over Robert Tinsley. That's one of the steps that he needs, having taken that bonus point. Tinsley in second. Next to him on that front row, Alex Simonik, who has been on a good swing of races this season, starting in third. Daniel Gralti is going to be in fourth with Dino Topic in fifth. Mark Wilson will start in sixth with Sean Reese behind him in P7. Then it's Lionel Duprat, who actually got some penalty points last round. He'll be starting in eighth. Ryan Bird will be ninth with Jimbo Pfeiffer, as we mentioned, rounding out the top 10. And the last of our prototypes in 11th, it's Matt Owens. Bill?
Jim, I'm going to have you go because my session crashed, so go ahead and take me while I get back in.
Leif Peterson will be starting in 12th overall. First on pole, the only Aston Martin starting at the front of the GT1 field. Kevin Santana starting 13th overall. And third will be Stephen McGarvey in the GT1s. Carter Kundinger will be fourth with Ryan Huff fifth. And rounding out a very small GT1 field is Paul Lindsay in sixth. Sam?
Yeah, David Sockrider will also be starting at the back in GT1s, having not turned a lap in qualifying. But now we get to GT3s with Laura Costa ahead of Jeffrey Ooms and Bradley Haley. So there are championship contenders in GT3, qualified first and third. Sheldon Rosenbaum will be starting in fourth ahead of Jim McInnes and Robert Trackman. And then Dave Hill, the only Ford GT in the race, starting about midfield in the GT3 pack, ahead of Robert Sklenka, David Tejeda and Mark Kudrowski was the slowest driver to turn the lap. Jason Gerard, already mentioned, he's not going to be in this race. David Sockrider starting at the back of GT1s. Armando Edwards, also not seeing him in the session, so Miguel Meyer looks like he will round out the GT3 field.
Curious to see how the car of Daniel Gralti will do today, having come off a podium 2 weeks ago at Phillip Island, starting in fourth. He could repeat the feat, but he's going to have to overtake at least one car to get himself up there. Usually we do our picks. I'm not sure if Bill's ready yet, so let's go to Sam to see who he thinks will perform today in the GT3s.
I've got to go with Bradley Haley. I would go with Lauro Costa, given that he set a better qualifying time and he was also faster than Haley in practice. And with such a technical circuit, I have a feeling good lap times are a good indication that you've got this track. However, Costa faltered the last race at Phillip Island, and additionally, I kind of want to see a championship battle. So I'm going to put my money on Haley today, but even if he is able to beat Costa, he's also got to beat Jeffrey Ooms, starting second in GT3.
Bill, do you have a pick for me?
Well,
you ready for it?
I always like Tinsley. Let's go that way. And as I'm still getting ready, is Stephen McGarvey in the race? I like him if he's racing here today.
He's starting third in his class.
All right.
And the cars have now taken off behind the roof pace car. Ulmer will lead the way. Tinsley has certainly come on strong in the latter half of the season. Wouldn't be a bad bet for him to be taking the lead. So, as they work their way slowly up to the Casio chicane, that tricky triangle, the last set of corners on the track. What can John Ulmer do in these 90 minutes? Can he keep himself in the hunt? Pace car peels off into pit lane. John Ulmer waiting a long time to get them started. Now he takes off, accelerates away. In fact, a bad jump for Robert Tinsley means that to the inside he's already got Simonic. Heading down into turn one, Tinsley's going to have to be aggressive. He tries to be around the outside, and look at that. Very aggressive, gives himself back into second position. Pretty much everybody else getting single file. Let's go to the GT1, Sam.
Yeah, Leif Peterson gets a good jump on the field after starting on the pole, but they're side by side for second place. I think there's actually been a change for position there. Stephen McGarvey got the jump on Carter Gundiner, but clean start for those guys. And the last GT1 of David Sock riders rolling out of the pits right now as the GT3 field now starts with Lauro Costa getting the jump on Jeffrey Ooms, and Bradley Haley filters into third.
In fact, even before they get to that first corner, pretty much everybody looking single file in these GT3 cars, stacking up a little bit as they pile into turns 1 and 2. Only a little bit of a pass in the back between Meyer and Tejada. Otherwise, everybody getting clean already. Let's go back to our prototypes, though, to check in on them. Nearly halfway through the lap, Ulmer still leading the way over Tinsley by about half second, not able to streak away quite yet.
Kevin Santana is in the pits. He started third in GT1. He's ran into some early trouble.
Sad to see that happen to Santana, especially considering he is in a fight with Owen for that championship, that amateur championship lead.
You saw him rolling out of the pits there with still the left front wheel hanging up in the air. Meanwhile, the GT3 battle for the lead has really picked up. Costa holding up a train behind him.
There you see our GT3 cars working their way up towards Spoon. There may be possibly an attempt from Ooms, who's been showing himself to be very consistent in this GT3 field. Everybody stays in line through this long 180-degree bend. Probably looking for a launch off the corner. In fact, Ooms gets it pretty well. He's right up underneath Lauro Costa, gaining ground as they climb up the hill. How brave is he? Is he going to attempt into 130R? No, he lifts before they get to the kink. They're going to stay in line.
If you're ever going to be ambitious enough to attempt to pass in 130R, I wouldn't think the opening lap is a good time to do that. Probably a smart move by Ooms to just back off for now.
In fact, he's backed off maybe a little bit too much as he loses ground, completing their first lap to Costa, allowing Bradley Haley to close in. And Haley won't want to mess around with Ooms too long. Again, as you said, he's worried about that championship, has to do something to try and take this fight to Lauro.
GT3 leaders close together, prototype leaders close together, but over in GT1's build, the one Corvette has built up a pretty good lead.
Leif Peterson doing really good as he's starting to distance himself now ahead of McGarvey and Kungdinger.
There we see our GT1 cars. Relatively small field for these guys. Third, really the closest fight between those top drivers. Meanwhile, the fight between Tinsley and Ulmer definitely close as well.
Contact in 130R between Ryan Bird and Sean Reese. I don't know how they both didn't end up smashed in the wall.
Well, we're going to look at the replay for a second. It looked like Bird maybe was out of the race.
Well, he disappeared. They should have both been out of a race right there.
Oh, he's back. It was a connection problem that I was seeing. But here you're going to see on the replay, Reese to the outside and 130R. Wow, actually made contact. great save by the Flying Snail racing car. It's almost flying into the barriers with that one, but the downforce definitely helped getting out into the gray stuff. They do clean the marbles before the start of the race, but a lot of grip already on this track from the long practice that they have here. In the meantime, up at the front of the prototypes, Ulmer's managed to stretch away from Tinsley by about half a second here, putting himself a little bit less under threat since I last looked.
Yeah, now in third place, Alex Simonik doing a good job. Whoa, as I spoke, as he spins right in front of Gralty, and there goes Topic by him as well. Simonik's going to get it going again. He's going to lose one more spot to Wilson.
That's the most immediate effect of the commentator's curse I've ever seen, Bill.
Barely got the name out of my mouth, caused him to spin. So he falls back to 6th.
Well, Simonik has made recovery drives before, so I wouldn't put it past him to be able to try and make that one up. Early in the race is when you want to have those problems to try and get your way back through the field. Topic is now trying to work on Gralty, who has been promoted to the podium spot. Could repeat the feat, as I mentioned, as Topic goes way off into the green stuff there, coming through 130R. And then, and now Topic spins! Gathers it back together. Nobody is going to want us to talk about from this race the way this is going. Topic does not lose a position. Go ahead.
It was interesting seeing some tyre smoke in that chicane before Topic ever got there, Joe. The drivers seem to be... I just hope they're not burning their tyres off too much.
Certainly going to need them with how twisty this track is. Behind them you can see this battle between Wilson and Simonik, as well as Topic. They're kind of stacking up together after Topic's mistake.
Good news for those guys, we have 90 minutes today. That's 30 minutes longer than usual. Plenty of time for them to make up for any mistakes that they made. Plus, there's an extra stop.
I want to give a bit of a shout out here, Joe, if I can, to Miguel Meyer. I know it's very early on in the race, but we were talking at the top of the show about how there aren't a lot of passing opportunities around here. But he has worked his way through about half of a GT3 field in less than 10 minutes.
Has himself into 8th position. Nice solid mid-pack run so far here on lap 4 for Miguel Meyer. I'm curious though, how close to our GT3 tail enders is our HPD field? Just taking a glance at where exactly Ulmer is. He's coming up on Kevin Santana already. Although I believe Santana started, or no, you mentioned he had problems at the start of this race there in that GT1 car.
Yeah, battle for the lead in GT3 is heating up. Booms was sticking his... Oh, Carter Cunton is off.
This was in the hairpin. Looks like a little bit too much gas. Oh no, this was on entry. You're going to see this Aston Martin just tail coming around right in the middle of the apex, and whoever that was that managed to avoid him was probably very happy about that.
That was Ryan Huff, who was putting some pressure on him to get to that podium spot, so now Huff has it.
Nicely done. Stephen McGarvey, though, is the one that really wants to get himself up a little bit higher. I had it a little bit backwards. It's all Aston Martin's only one Corvette out here, rather than the reverse.
And as these drivers that we were watching while they were about to go down around pit road there, already one car into the pits. Mark Kudrowski has run into early trouble.
Talk about those Corvettes, Joe, but at least the Corvette's leading. That's got to make you feel better when they're the only Corvette out there. And of course, we're talking about Leif Peterson.
Absolutely. So, as we watch the prototype lead, Ulmer has been chased down by Tinsley. These two heading into Spoon once again. No attempt quite yet that we've seen from Bob the Blade, but we've seen him be patient before and have the pace over John Ulmer and then walk away as soon as pit stops are over. Wondering if that's what we're seeing here.
Well, these two can afford to be a little bit patient because they pulled out 2 seconds on Daniel Gralty. The battle for the GT3 lead, I don't think Jeffrey Ooms can be as patient with Lauro Costa in front of him because A, Bradley Haley isn't too far behind him, and B, as you mentioned, they will start going a lap down soon, and when the interclass traffic starts, you really want to have your pass made before then.
Let's quickly go to Simonik in 5th place. He just made a move around Ryan Bird and Wilson now. Remember, he had that spin. It was really aggressive. He got by those two guys. He moves up a couple more spots.
We're going to see the replay here down. Actually, I think it was before the 130R corner. Here you can see ducks out. Wow. Sam, you said it wasn't smart early in the race, but Alex Simonik isn't listening to advice right now.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking of this as a 24-hour race. This is a sprint towards the end. We're only 10 minutes into this one, though.
Meanwhile, our prototype leaders have caught up to the back of the GT3s. Robert Tinsley, known as Bob the Blade, is traditionally very strong going through traffic. What can Ulmer do? Can he try and beat Robert at his own game? He's coming up on Miguel Meyer now, who you mentioned gained spots in those GT3s. Going to catch him in a good place here on the stretch up to Spoon.
Problem is, ahead of Meyer, there's a battle in GT3 for 6th position going on between Robert Drachman and Dave Hill. As I hear Paul Lindsay, one of our GT1s, has brought into the pits early on.
We'll go back to that in a second if we could figure out what happened to him. But Ulmer is able to put a car between them, 2 cars between them, just like he did with Meyer coming through Spoon. Jackman and Dave Hill might hold up Tinsley, but no, catches him at just the right time, weaving in and out of traffic as he lives up to his name.
Golty's now got these guys to pass, and he's kind of stuck by Meyer in the chicane.
Progress halted for the Plains driver. Starting to see the Masters work ahead of him as they scythe their way through all this slower class traffic here very early in the race. Still an hour, 19 minutes left to go on the clock.
Yeah, next driver they'll catch is 4th in GT3, Sheldon Rosenbaum, and then they'll catch David Sockrider, the GT1 driver who had some difficulty at the start of this event, and then they'll catch our 3 GT3 leaders.
As Ulmer actually has to put 2 wheels in the grass to get by Rosenbaum there. Coming up through Dunlop Curve, he's going to get halted coming through the second Degner. And that's going to allow Robert Tinsley to close up a little. Sneaks by down into the hairpin, puts 1 car between them, only momentarily as Bob comes aggressively in around the outside.
Now here they come to the leaders.
Doesn't manage to make up the time. Ulmer catches them at a good spot, heading up into Spoon, sneaks through the inside, puts more cars between them, trying oh so hard to do all he can to keep Tinsley back. It might be all for nothing, though, depending on how Tinsley finishes. If he stays in second, that pretty much will seal the deal no matter what they do for the final round.
Here comes Zooms. He's going to try and make a move in 130i. Backs out of it. Ooms really wants this lead.
Costa got a little bit off his racing line there as he had to let Tinsley go by, and Ooms was going to take advantage of that.
Haley and Sockrider also not far behind these two as well. If they start battling, this could make it a very close fight, although Haley having to hold off Sockrider as he looks around the outside with a great run out of the final corner. They've got Gralty coming up too, but Sockrider's already got the move done as they get split by the HPD. Although Sockrider goes way wide out into the AstroTurf, somehow manages to keep it together and hold the position over Haley into third.
Gralty is getting off worse on these lap traffic deals. This is not where you want to be behind the GT3 car in the S's.
Certainly a lot harder to try to sneak your way through as he waits patiently now behind our GT3 leader. Finally gets his opportunity through Dunlop, but the damage has already been done. 7.5 seconds between the number 47 and the 311.
I was almost wondering if Dino Topic back there was going to split it between Sockrider and Nooms. Fortunately, he had a bit more patience than that. Takes them one at a time because Topic running 4th in class right now. Oh, a bit of contact. Was that Simonik and Sockrider?
That was. Simonik was trying to stay up with Topic, but couldn't find his way through the traffic in time. And Sockrider, unfortunately, miscommunication between himself and the HPD meant, as you said, just a little bit of a touch, but no damage to either car.
And the GT1s, Bill, have the smallest field out there, but they're the ones who have had a lot of trouble early on. David Sockrider, Kevin Santana and Paul Lindsay, all a bit off the pace.
Yeah, Ryan Huff comfortably in third place, but he's got quite a ways back to get to Kundinger. Peterson and Garvey just having a nice little drive out there right now.
Yes, excuse me, I was calling Sockrider into the GT3 class. That was my mistake. He is trying to make his way through that class. So Haley still on the podium.
Oh, Ryan Bird. They were just running through the chicane here. Ryan Bird just blinked out for a moment. That's definitely not going to help you navigate your way through traffic.
He's back now. Now, Jim McInnes, I think, was complaining about something there for a moment.
I think there's been a few drivers. I don't know if McInnes has been involved with interclass traffic, but I think there's a few drivers out there with stuff to complain about. The only thing I've really seen gone wrong is Miguel May actually had a big off course down in the Degner curves when he was letting some cars by, but he rejoined without any incident.
Looks like it was just Duprat coming in hot into the Casio triangle, but he made the pass cleanly. Duprat still running within the top 10 in the HPDs.
David Sockrider, of course.
Going for a little trip through the beach.
All that progress that he was making up on the GT1 cars and past our GT3 leaders has now been lost. That was in the Degner corners once again. You can see he's come back on track. But that Aston Martin is certainly going to have to do a lot of work all over again. Seems to be difficult trying to work their way through that GT3 traffic in this middle class.
Good news for Sam's GT3 drivers is the prototypes are just about through. There are a lot of them, though.
And I think Ooms maybe had a bad exit with Jimbo Pfeiffer trying to work his way through the inside of Spoon. That allows Bradley Haley to start to gain some ground once again. If he can gain just that little bit more through 130R, he might have an opportunity. Another good run, just chopping off the tents, but not close enough as they hit this final chicane.
Yeah, Haley's really going to have to try and find a way by Ooms, I think, if he wants to stay in this championship fight, or at least gain some ground today.
Speaking of those championship fights, Stephen McGarvey, remember, is in the hunt for his, trying to make as many points as he can with his main rival being gone today. Leif Peterson, currently in the way of that goal, though, has been holding McGarvey back since the drop of the green, but not by much.
Leif will be looking for his first win of the season if he can get this one.
I think Olmer's had a bit of a slow lap. Tinsley has gained a few tenths on him.
It's been keeping him within check, and once again, Gralty well back at 8.5 seconds. They're not under threat, so if Tinsley wanted to, he could get aggressive and not have to worry about being caught by third.
They qualified 4/100ths of a second apart with Ulmer with the little bit faster, so they are evenly paced.
The way Ulmer has been racing this season, I'd say the Texan is hungry. Hasn't won a championship in a number of seasons, and this is the closest he's been in a while. Such a mixed up order, finishing at the top step of the podium through this season in the HPDs.
And while Tinsley has been consistent, it took him the first half of the season before he finally started picking up wins. Once he got on the roll, though, Joe, he has been hot.
Absolutely. Last one at the top for Ulmer, excuse me, was at Spa a couple rounds ago. Tinsley just holding station about 8 tenths behind our prototype leader. This one turning into a slow burn for this 90-minute race. McGarvey has gained about 2 tenths on Peterson, though, up at the top of the GT1s. So that Aston Martin just barely reeling in Leif Peterson. McGarvey and that #1 machine wants to mimic that with his position as well. He's got a lot of time left to do it at least, so he can stay patient, but he certainly won't want to lose touch if these two are as close on pace as this is implying so far here, 11 laps into this run.
And he's got quite a while before the prototypes get to him as well. Sam?
The other magic number I'm seeing out here right now is 6. There seems to be a battle for 6th position in Prototypes and GT3. Mark Wilson ahead of Ryan Bird in the Prototype division. And if you go back to GT3, 6th place is where Robert Jackman runs ahead of a Ford GT of Dave Hill.
There you see that battle for the GT3 6th position. Staying very tight as they work their way through Degner 1 and 2. As Hill still running that split scheme there. Running his team's scheme on one side and then his favorite team, the Blue Jays, on the other side.
These guys sit 4th and 5th of the points with Hill in 4th, Jackman in 5th.
Jackman being a fellow Canadian, also running a Blue Jays scheme there. And that Mercedes. But they are not running within the same team, as you must have a driver in each class in your team, the way they work the team championship here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. Climbing up the hill, looks like Jackman got a better run off of Spoon, allowing him to defend against Hill, not have to worry about an attack up here into the Casio Triangle.
Final prototype have made it through the GT3s the first time through. Well, I spoke too soon. There's just one more pass to make for Matt Owens to get around Laura Costa. Then these guys can go back to racing.
Looks like 3rd place in the GT1s is also starting to heat up just a little bit. Carter Kundinger trying to make up ground since his donut through the hairpin. He's chasing down Ryan Huff.
Yeah, back there racing. 15th overall, 4th in class. The driver who will not be named, as I don't want to curse him again, but he's trying to chase down Ryan Huff. Remember, he had that spin in the hairpin.
This is for Carter to get himself back onto the podium as they work their way down to turn 1. Tricky braking into this corner can sometimes offer opportunities to gain ground. For Kundinger, though, it looks like they are about dead even, so Ryan Huff knows the score, knows that even though he grabbed the position, he's got to push hard and keep the pace up to be able to hold on to it.
Stay on this for a little while, because just a corner back are your prototype leaders. Here they come, Ulmer and Tinsey.
Coming through for the 2nd time. John Ulmer through the S's, thankfully not catching him there with the limited places.
To be the first time they're going through, they went through the GT3s, now first time here as they come up through the GT1s.
Pardon me? This could work out well for Ulmer, but bad for Tinsey. He's going to be able to sneak inside one of the GT1s. Tinsey's brave enough to try and go around the outside as the car of Kundinger holds off to the left, lets them through. Now comes Ryan Huff. Ulmer trying to pick a side. It's going to have to go the long way around. Nope. Looks like we'll get him to the inside before they get to Spoon. And gets the timing very nicely as Tinsey has to work on a sub-optimal line going his way through Spoon.
Meanwhile, GT3 battle for the lead heat and back up. Remember, last time we checked in on these guys, Ooms had dropped back a little bit, of course. He was trying to hold on to second ahead of Bradley Haley. Well, the traffic, the faster traffic getting by the GT3 leaders was not good to Costa and was not good to Haley, and that has moved Ooms back up within striking range of a leader.
And they are not done with it. Kevin Santana is still coming through after his early woes. Santana in the GT1 class is going to be piling through these GT3 leaders as Ooms continues to put the pressure on to the Brazilian. I would say this is one of the best performances we've seen from Ooms so far. Usually he quietly runs his way to a podium, Sam, but right now he is a serious threat.
Could be that he just likes this circuit. We mentioned how there's some people who do well him and some who don't. Maybe Jeffrey is one of those who is familiar with the Suzuka circuit.
Meanwhile, our prototypes hitting the GT1 leaders, so it's going to be a little bit harder going as, wow, one of those cars, that was Leif Peterson, our leader, actually going off to the side, but was that a wrong move, as offering the inside to Stephen McGarvey. This could be a pass for the lead, and the GT1s, and I think he's got it done, Bill, but coming back up the inside is Peterson.
I think McGarvey now, McGarvey's got to work his way around some GT3 traffic. And back there goes Tinsey by now.
That was Sklenka. Peterson lifted coming out of the hairpin, trying to let this traffic through. That solidly gives it to McGarvey now.
Yeah, we'll watch the pass here, Joe, but the two big losers from that are Tinsey, who was kind of held up by that battle, and Peterson had to back out from battling with McGarvey down towards the spoon turn, because if he had tried to put up a fight, they would have all collided into Tinsey and we would have had a huge mess. Here you'll see how Peterson loses that lead.
Yeah, we couldn't quite see it because of the bridge there, but that was an actual mistake getting loose. It wasn't that he was pulling over to let them through that caused him to have to take that line. Here we're going to see it from onboard Peterson. Rear wheels getting lit up coming out of Degner 2. Manages to recover it in time, but unfortunately the damage is done to his position and not to his car.
Half an hour into the race, first round of pit stops starting, a scheduled stop for Dino Topic in the prototypes.
He hits his spot nice and cleanly as the Mama Jean Racing machine gets its first set of fuel. Shouldn't be tires this time. I'm actually curious if these HPDs will need tires, or if they last pretty long, that they could typically double stint them in a full tank instead of these restricted tanks. Returns back to the track in 10th. Well, that gap between Ulmer and Tinsey has not come back down. It's still about a second between them, although it may now, as Ulmer catches more traffic through Spoon. That compromises him, and Tinsey's going to catch it on the straightaway. So indeed, it comes down by nearly half a second as Bob the Blade catches a break.
It really is a contrast in style if you watch these guys work traffic. Ulmer's tool, probably more of a crowbar technique, while Tinsey's more of uses a scalpel. They both are effective.
Just in very different ways, I suppose. Just, I don't want Ulmer as my surgeon. Well, the gap goes back up just a little bit. It's been yo-yoing back and forth as Tinsey slots back down to about 8/10 behind John Ulmer. So far, the Big Cheese has managed to keep it on the pizza. He's got an hour left to do that, though.
In the GT1s, once McGarvey was able to get around, or Peterson made that mistake, McGarvey been able to open it up a bit now.
Maybe waiting patiently for that opportunity, and finally came. Meanwhile, for 5th in the prototypes, Ryan Bird is doing all he can to hassle Mark Wilson. Very close behind that rear wing, but as they hit the S's, so hard to trail in that wake, and you can see him lose time as we ride on the gearbox of Wilson.
Yeah, we saw this a little earlier, being a battle for 6th, obviously one place higher now with Dino Topic's regular stop. Meanwhile, an update on the GT3 lead, pretty much the same we're seeing in prototypes, with the gap opening and closing between Costa and Ooms. Costa still has a lead in the class.
Speaking of gaps closing, Carter Kundinger back onto Ryan Huff, loses some ground, and the hairpin, though, they're going to be passed by this battle for position in the prototypes, including Wilson and Bird, so that could disrupt them depending on where they are caught. Wilson stays behind them, coming up to Spoon Corner. This is going to allow Bird to close in behind him. Whoa!
Oh, there it is!
Into Bird! Excuse me, into Wilson. Carter Kundinger. Second mistake of the race. This time it hurts someone else, as Wilson was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You can see just into that AstroTurf, Bill.
And nice, maybe we get a replay of it from Bird's view as he was able to get by. Just happened to be on the right part of the track. Look at this as we ride on board with Wilson. He has nowhere to go.
Really
you can almost see it coming, yeah. Now we'll look from the car one back from Bird here. This is right behind Wilson. And it just happens, I think, that Wilson was just on the right side of the track.
And you can see Bird was just about ready to go over there when he saw the spin happen and jerked his wheel back to the right. So lucky break for Bird, horrible luck for Mark Wilson, who has to take a tow into the pits after serious damage. You can see missing the nose clip on that machine, probably some suspension damage the way he slammed into the Armco.
And Tinsley's car almost looked very similar just a couple of turns ago. He's lost a bit of a gap to John Ullman. That's because those two were going by the GT3 leaders, battling for that top spot, Costa and Ooms. Tinsley really had to slam the brakes hard in the hairpin, otherwise he would have gone right into the back of them.
I like what Jeffrey Ooms is doing. In fact, he's got a run now on Costa. I almost think he could... He's just sitting back there waiting.
Question is, does he have the pit stop savvy that Costa has?
Well, we talked about and John Ulmer into the pits, but we talked about how the GT3s, we didn't know if they'd be 1 or 2 stops. My guess is now 2, because Jim McInnes, who had been running 5th in class, came in for a scheduled stop last lap.
That's, well, McInnes clearly on a 2-stopper, but really the tail will tell when we see the last of the GT3 pits. If they come in at the 45-minute mark, that'll tell us whether or not they can make it in 1 stop.
If I was Olms, I would follow Costa around, and when Costa came in, I'd follow him in. I'd stay in my box as long as he did, and then I'd leave when he left. I would just do whatever he did for the first 2 stops.
GT1 leader Stephen McGarvey into his pit stall as Ryan Huff follows suit as well from 3rd.
That moves the Corvette of Leif Peterson back out in front as he did not come in. Now, what's interesting here, Joe, is I would imagine these guys will probably take tires one of these stops. So it could get kind of confusing whether they take it the first stop or the second stop.
Yeah, GT1's known for chewing up the tires a little bit more than some of these other classes with that high power in those machines. You can see just how busy pit road is getting, though.
Looks like no tires for any of the GT1 drivers.
So Ulmer is pitted, returned to the track in 5th. Robert Tinsley actually is coming up to the Casio chicane right now. He's got a little bit of traffic in the form of David Sockrider. So is Bob the Blade going to pit in response? Yes, he does.
Wouldn't be surprised if Tinsley short fills a little bit here. Pay the price on the next pit stop. Take enough to get out in front of Ulmer if you could.
Down to the pit speed limiter, feeling deadly slow here in the pit lane at Suzuka. Ulmer is dealing with traffic as well, so he's not having it all his way as he goes by Miguel Meyer. And then the GT3 car of Dave Hill. Those two fighting for position.
Daniel Grolty, Alex Simonik, Ryan Bird, also all in all these HPD cars.
Ulmer comes through the Casio triangle now.
Tinsley's still in his box.
Exactly, as Ulmer gets by the machine of Jackman. Tinsley going now, accelerating away. Going to be tight, but it looks like the Big Cheese is by.
This prototype battle for the lead has so paralleled the GT3 battle for the lead all race long. I've got to start looking up Brazilian food so we can call... aren't bananas from Brazil? We'll call Laura Costa the big banana or something.
There you go. Peterson in for the GT1 lead. McGarvey working through the Casio triangle right now. Peterson rolling. Peterson's got a shot at this. Here comes McGarvey.
And an update on those GT3s. Costa doesn't have to worry about just giving Ooms the slip. It's now Haley who's caught up to them, so it's a 3-way fight for the GT3 lead.
Yeah, Coaster and Dooms were really not doing too well with the latest HPD traffic. I went by them. Haley was able to run them both down that way.
As we look at Ooms, you saw McGarvey get out just in front of Peterson. So just like the prototypes, the GT1s follow suit. Your turn, Sam. Get you guys in there now.
Well, there they all are on screen. They've been like this quite a bit today. As they come down to the Casio chicane, but I almost wonder if Ooms is starting to be a little bit more conservative. Although, as we mentioned, he's got Haley to worry about behind him. He's coming in. So, it does look like he's going to elect to do this two-stop strategy.
And maybe if the others do a two-stop strategy, wonder if this is Oom's ploy to try and jump them. Thinking he could get some clear air, not have to run behind Costa. So one banana leaves the bunch. Meanwhile, we're left with two up at the top of the GT3s. Ulmer and Tinsey are at the same gap that we last checked in on them. Ulmer does get caught up behind the car of Rosenbaum just momentarily as he sneaks through. He's going to be able to put him between them, but only for a second, as Bob the Blade once again slices by another GT3 car.
Best paint scheme on the track right there. There's Sheldon Rosenbaum.
Isn't the bright blue for you?
Oh, man.
It's not confusing with
I can see that one.
Jackman and...
Nope, that one works for me. That's look at that. That's beautiful.
Ooms returns to the track. He's going to be down in the 6th position as Simonet goes by. 54 minutes left on the clock here in this 90-minute race. If you're just joining us, this is the penultimate round, potentially, of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. We have not been confirmed yet with an additional round to replace Le Mans, which had some technical issues that caused them to not count it for points. We have heard that they intend to, but there's been no official confirmation with us yet that we will be airing that race.
Of course, the interesting thing about Oom's pit stop is now the two GT3 championship points leaders are running first and second, although there's a bit of a gap in between them right now.
And Sam Costa has not reacted yet. He stays out one more lap, so does Haley.
Yeah, I think it's Ooms who was getting a little impatient behind Costa.
Oh, and here comes our prototype leaders trying to come through as we... Wow, look at just how close Robert gets.
Oh, he really wanted to try and make that pass work. That's going to cost him time there.
Comes upon his teammate... no, excuse me, that's not his teammate. Similar paint schemes. I'm turning into you here, Bill. That's his teammate is McInnes. Robert Tinsey is for Talon Motorsports. Lower Costa with a similar color scheme.
Just to follow up on Ohms, Sam, he was a second slower that last lap than Costa was. So if he was planning to make up time, it's not working.
Yeah, he could have just had some bad luck with traffic. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out once the round of stop cycles through. Ooms is off, actually.
Yeah, he's off.
Ooh, this is gonna hurt his chances. Could still have opportunities. He got very close to the tire wall around the outside. You see this is in turns 1 and 2 as he slithers off into the gravel and returns without any damage to the car, but carrying quite a bit of those stones back onto the racing line.
Yeah, never made a mistake when he was racing with the guys, but as soon as he started a hot lap, that's when he got in trouble.
Yeah, that's a problem when you run behind one car for too long, Bill. You kind of begin to learn to race off of them, then all of a sudden that car's gone. You've got to learn to hit your marks yourself now.
So as we watch Robert Jackman in that 7th position, who's in a very close fight for 6th.
This is awful position, all 4 of those cars.
Exactly.
Costa and Haley both in.
So, let's see how they come out in relation to Ooms with that spin. I think it's going to be a pretty safe bet that they are going to be ahead of the Canadian driver.
Boone's right now getting passed by the other, the GT1 leader. McGarvey gets around him, but it's not going to slow him up.
Just an easy pass for our GT1 leader currently.
Costa rolling. Haley, now Haley comes, but what a difference between pit stop times.
Well, here's the thing. They're 40 minutes into this race. If they go another 40 minutes, they would only have to do 10 more minutes. Maybe they don't really have to fill the cars up that much.
Haley in for 7 seconds longer than Costa. They went in nose to tail. They're not going to come out that way. Haley's going to be lucky if he gets out in front of Ooms.
Oh, and Ulmer is now in second.
What's happened to Tinsley's front end? Look, Tinsley's got the lead, but he's missing the front clip.
Let's look at the replay. Now, Ulmer had a spin. We just saw the tail of it there coming through Spoon. Now, what? Tinsley just ran through the alternate pit. What in the world was he doing there? I didn't even know they left that open.
And that's what happened to Ulmer.
And I'm seeing a missing clip. Yeah. Well, that might be what did it. If he clipped the Armco there coming through, trying to be cute. I'm not sure what's on Tinsley's mind, but I think it's pretty safe to say that he is indeed missing that nose, because both on the director's and on mine, it is gone.
Still running okay, though. Much like Alan Prost winning a world championship around here, you don't have to have a perfect nose.
That was pretty clever there, Sam.
That's funny.
Well, Ulmer is closed back in on him. Isn't right on top of him. Bizarre circumstances here in the penultimate round of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Meanwhile, I can confirm that Ooms lost his second place. He's running in third. He's got about a 2-second gap up to Haley, who is a whole 9 seconds behind our leader, Lauro Costa, who once again proves himself to know what he's doing when it comes to pit stops. I guess maybe he's another graduate of that University of Pit Stopology, Bill.
some proud alumni from that college.
There's a huge pack of cars going down the front straight right now, being led by Jim McInnes, who has got Robert Drachman behind him, and then Carter Condon in the GT1 car, trying to work his way through this field of GT3s with Miguel Meyer and Dave Hill also there. Actually, Miguel Meyer's got a bit of damage to the front end of his Mercedes.
As far as Costa goes, I think it's going to be a pay me now, pay me later type thing. He was so much faster than Haley or Ooms that I think he's going to have to have a longer pit stop the second time through.
Most likely should be a short stint we expect for the Brazilian based on those numbers.
Right.
As we watch Kundinger continue to work his way through these GT3 cars, all battling for position. Jim McInnes, the next one in line. As now we've got our leaders in the HPDs coming through, going to complicate things even more. Boy, Ulmer got very close to Jackman, though. Or excuse me, no, Dave Hill, I should say.
Let's get a ride on board one of our leaders here, give you just an idea of how this race is unfolding from their perspective as we approach a halfway point.
And Ulmer makes contact with Jackman, sorry. Ulmer got a little bit confused trying to find his way through, came up to the back of Jackman, misjudged it. Jackman looks to the inside of McInnes in the meantime.
Yeah, let's ride on board Jackman and see if he's able to get by McInnes.
Very intense stuff here in the GT3s as we come across that start-finish line, Sam.
Yeah, not really able to make any inroads there without the leaders, was he?
They've got Dino Topic coming up behind as well. Seen a few times where things have gotten to mess with traffic as he squeezes by Meyer. And so once again, iRacing playing tricks on multiple ones of us as Tinsley's nose is back on the car.
Not sure if that means it's in good health, though.
I think a fan was probably standing there right in front of 130R, maybe threw it out and landed back on the nose of the car.
He's kept that gap by about 1.7 over Ulmer. I wouldn't say, Bill, that the cheese is off the pizza, but there's a few shreds that have certainly fallen to the floor.
Yeah, well, it was in the box. You just have to pick it up and scoop it back on there. But still well within striking distance. Still another pit stop to go. These guys are so closely matched.
Simonik unhappy with the traffic. The GT3 cars we keep stepping back to as Miguel Meyer has a big problem. Manages to catch it. Wow. A tank slapper for the driver from Texas.
We'll see what happened to Meyer here, but I'm starting to notice there's a pattern. I think it's happened in more than one race, and that he's very fast. But I wonder if that's because he runs a low downforce setup or something, because every now and then he does have the odd mistake.
Has Meyer taken his pit stop yet? Yes, he has. Well, he's got one more to go change his pants at least. But he'll have to sit in them for a while as McGuinness comes in for an early stop, or is this his first?
No, this is his second, but he's getting out of the car. Oh dear, problems for McGuinness, because he did make the first scheduled stop, but obviously something more serious going on here.
Oh, disappointment for Jim McInnes. Was having a solid run out there today, holding back a number of cars. Oh, and it sounds like it's his back. Been having some problems earlier this year, so Jim McInnes is now done with the race DNF due to health problems.
Backs are the worst. There's just no way you can position yourself where it doesn't hurt.
So we jump up to second in our GT3's Bradley Haley, who's inherited that. With pretty much all of our cars having taken their first stop. And yes, indeed, looks like we have gotten through. Let's go through our top 5 in each of the classes here, halfway through the race. Robert Tinsley capitalizes on a mistake by Ulmer, puts himself into P1. Ulmer now only about 2 seconds back from Bob the Blade. Not giving up on this one quite yet. Dino Topic is sitting in third. Podium spot for Dino. Looking good here today. Alex Simonik, after early problems, is down into fourth.
Let's go to Kundinger real quick. Carter Kundinger just spun it again. Sorry, Joe.
We're going to watch the replay, and as we watch this, just a real quick run out of our fifth is Daniel Gralty, who was momentarily in the podium spot in the prototype. So we see Kundinger loses it in 130R. Not often you can come away from that one, Bill, without hitting anything.
Yeah, Carter knew I was coming to him in the GT1 rundown, so he wanted to get that out of the way before I got there. Sorry, Carter. We caught you. GT1, Stephen McGarvey up in front by about 4 seconds over Leif Peterson. Pretty evenly paced. McGarvey starting to pull away, though. Peterson's got a nice 6-second lead over Ryan Huff, who is very comfortable in third position with over a half-minute lead on Carter Kundinger, who just looped it around. And talk about a comfortable lead. He's got 41 seconds over David Sockrider, who's racing in fifth in the GT1s. Sam, what do you got going on in GT3s?
We've got a very yellow-looking, ripe and unpeeled banana leading the field around Laura Costa after that quick stop. But will he be able to hang on to it after the second round of stops ahead of Bradley Haley? Or will it in fact be Jeffrey Ooms in second position? He's dropped a bit back off Haley right now, but he's definitely still within contention for a podium position, if not perhaps even a win if everything played into his favour. Sheldon Rosenbaum, a very quiet race so far, much like his championship has been, running back there and forth. And then we get to Robert Jackman, who's a new driver in 5th in GT3 after the first round of stops. And remember, he's part, and when I say part, he's at the front of that pack of GT3 cars battling for position.
There's your top 5 rundown in each of our classes here at Suzuka for the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Let's stay on this fight, though, because...
Oh, let's go to Omar. Sorry, let's go to Omar real quick. About 10 seconds ago, got into the back of the leader of the GT3s, Costa. They're both still racing.
We're going to see down through turns 1 and 2. Closes in quicker than he anticipates.
Crowbar.
That's what happens when a pizza runs into a banana.
Okay, here's the conversation. Ulmer says, I misjudged your exit speed. Costa came back and said, no, I got loose before you got to me.
Half dozen of one, 6 of the other.
I was trying to hold the inside line. It got loose. That's why you hit me. So, as they still haven't gotten around each other yet, though.
Oh no, he's by now.
Now they have, yeah.
Ulmer is able to continue on, but the gap is extended from 2 seconds now to 7 up to Robert Tinsley. Though if we're honest, even if he's able to catch and pass Tinsley, it's looking like Tinsley will solidify his championship here today. It's his 3rd crown in a row, 4th crown in a row. I've lost count, Bill.
Boy, they keep coming. Although, I'll give you a little drama. Tinsley might have some repairs when he makes this next stop. We're not sure the condition of that nose, even though it looks good right now. iRacing may make him fix it.
I'll counter your drama. Ulmer might now have some
I think Ulmer
repairs
does,
as well.
Yeah.
I'll counter both yours, drama. P5 in GT3. Jackman being challenged by Hill, and 7th in class Miguel Meyer, right behind both of them, all while Jimbo Pfeiffer in the HPD is closing in from behind.
Hill takes a little bit of a peek to the left side as they approach to Spoon, but gets back in line. Pfeiffer tries to go to the inside of Meyer, but doesn't quite complete it as they almost come together. They do touch, and Meyer goes around. Meyer was in the hunt for that battle, but as you'll see on the replay, that is the case no more. The Texan Mercedes driver, twice now in Spoon, has had problems, this time not of his own making. The question is, did he close down on Pfeiffer? Ooh, maybe he was a little bit responsible for that one there, Sam.
Yeah, well, as the slower class, it's your responsibility to let the faster class by. Additionally, though, the faster class drivers are told it's their responsibility to make a clean pass.
Got a little bit of damage from that one, but he's able to continue on. And he did not lose position to David Tejada, the next car down the line for the GT3s, who was 30 seconds back.
Talk about intervals, checking up on that interval between Tinsley and Ulmer being over 7 seconds, Joe, after all that drama we saw a while ago.
Yes, it's extended a whole nother second between Tinsley and Ulmer. Looking like there's still a lot of racing to go. We shouldn't play this down too much, but it's looking like this one will be in favor of Tinsley unless traffic or a big mistake from Robert comes into play.
Or if he forgets which pit road he needs to go down again. Because the second round of stops are coming up soon.
Indeed. Once we get to that 2/3 mark at 30 minutes to go, should be seeing plenty of cars in and out of pit lane.
Boy, Dave Hill really wants to get by Jackman for 5th in GT3, and watching them come through Spoon now. Keeps closing on them, but he's not getting the runs when he needs to, although Jackman gave him a favour there.
Went a little bit wide out of Spoon. And as Dave Hill sneaks up the inside, that's going to give him 5th place. Is he going to fight back, though? Jackman still side by side as they come to 130R, forces him to the inside line, but it's not enough to phase Dave Hill. And this Canadian battle is going to go in favor of the split car.
Yeah, well, Jackman knows all the tricks of that Ford GT. He used to race one. Unfortunately, a mistake for Jackman cost him the position there.
Well,
Miguel Meyer's been involved in another incident. The whole front end of his car has gone. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, he does definitely repair.
Oh, and this was a self-spin. We're going to see on the replay here. Coming through 130R, and overcorrection here, Sam just sails it into the tires.
I think Timo Glock did that in an F1 car once, and the results weren't pretty. The results weren't pretty there either. Meyer has retired from the race. Oh, and the results aren't pretty for Topic. Topic going to the back of a lapped HPD of Mark Wilson in the chicane and loses third place to Simonek.
Didn't expect him to slow up that quickly. You're going to see here, as he comes to lap him, he's waiting patiently behind one of our GT1 leaders. Yeah. And Topic gets on the radio saying that his car is fine. Let's watch the onboard.
What you had Wilson right behind the GT1 leader, so he's giving him plenty of room. Wilson didn't want to get into the back of Peterson, and Topic didn't realize that poach had closed real fast, got in the back of him.
Well, Topic, thankfully for him, is still close behind Simonek. He works his way around Robert Sklenka and gives chase to try and get himself back onto that podium spot.
Yeah, and I have been watching the gap too. Simonek was running him down. It was going to be one of the only battles we were going to find in the prototypes. And then when Topic had that issue, well, the gap shrunk and then disappeared completely.
Coming up on Leif Peterson.
Yep.
Oh, but look at him get boxed in with David Tejada in the GT3 car. That loses a bunch of time for Simonek. And Dino
here he comes! Where's he going?
Off the course.
Oh!
Comes back on. Actually doesn't lose too
much
much
What a racing
time.
line from Topic!
So the battle is still on. And Dino Topic, I couldn't quite hear what he said over the radio, but he was laughing a little bit there. Not expecting it either.
I wonder, Drew, if what he was saying is, Leif, I'm going to pass you down the straight here, and Leif Peterson is saying, please go ahead, get away from me.
Closes in under the Casio triangle. This is the closest fight in our prototypes, and it's for the final podium position. Simonek stretches away down the front stretch. Through the kink of turn 1, down to the hairpin of 2. They're about dead even. As Dino continues to give chase, up next ahead of them is going to be Stephen McGarvey, P1 in the GT1s. He is definitely not want to get in the middle of this fight.
Because let me tell you, if Topic sees you stalled behind a slower car, he'll dive it in there.
Second round, the stops are started.
It's Ryan Bird we see on screen in the prototypes that has come in. Simonek catches at a bad spot for Stephen McGarvey. He's stopped up here at Degner 1 and 2, and Dino Topic closes in behind him. Simonek's going to try and sneak by around the outside of the hairpin. And Dino cannot capitalize, is stuck behind through that slow corner, and Alex once again starts to streak away.
Wonder if Topic intended on the crossover move there. Either way, he lost a bit of time.
Bird accelerating out of his pit stall now. First of our takers here in the prototypes for the second stop.
And Bird stop that time was 31 in the box compared to guys who Ulmer and Tinsey who were 20 seconds. So that might have been tires. I'll have to go back and see if Bird took tires.
Tejada giving on here about saying someone making a nice save.
I think, was it Ryan Huff?
Yeah, he said Ryan. I don't think it was Ryan Bird.
Yeah.
He was in the pits.
Yeah, Ryan Huff coming out of a hairpin last lap. I didn't see it. I just saw the dust kicked up by him. But I think he got loose exit in the hairpin and drove it through the... not this hairpin. This is Spoon, I think, we're seeing on screen here. But the hairpin before that, I think he got a bit of wheel spin coming out and went through the gravel.
Here we go. We're going to take a look at it. This is coming past a GT3 car to lap him.
See, everything's fine here. Does it get hit by the prototype?
Oh, maybe goes a little bit wide. Wow! Wow!
Yeah, I saw the dust there on the front straight, and my screen was flashing, telling me that Huff had been off, and I didn't think much of it until we heard the driver calling him out.
So, with Huff here in Japan thinking he'll do a little Tokyo drift, he continues. Meanwhile, Ooms... Something happened to Ooms. Oh, he's coming in for his second stop.
Yep.
Remember, he was the first GT3 to pit last time around.
Mama Jean driver hits his marks. No drama there. Sheldon Rosenbaum continues on. Will inherit third momentarily. Haley and Costa both are also still out. And it looks like Ooms is electing to take tires. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and get 30 minutes out of him.
Yeah, Sam and I are on the same page there. I guess, I don't know, I guess you got to take him sometime. I would maybe probably take him the first stop, I would think.
Well, we'll have to watch and see if the Big Banana or the car behind and Bradley Haley is going to take them as well as Ooms gets on his way.
Leif Peterson, GT1 top runner, into the pits.
Well, actually, I think Steve McGarvey is our highest runner, and he is in the pits as well. Ryan Huff comes in as well.
There we go.
Probably to change his pants. Number of drivers really having some close calls out there today. Some able to continue, some not.
And my strategy coach, Dexter Castro, tells me that 90 minutes is about the break-even point for changing tires.
Kind of a toss-up, I take it?
Yeah, that you can... It's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other if you're going to change or not. I think all these guys seem like they're going to one-stop these, at least in the GT1s.
An update on Ulmer. He is currently 13 seconds down on Tinsley. So that gap increasing ever more. Gap that hasn't really increased at all. Robert Jackman and Dave Hill still within a second of one another, and Dave Hill actually took way off into the runoff. They're coming through 130R.
Ulmer coming in.
Struggling.
There we go. I know we're supposed to be impartial as Big Cheese comes in, but part of me pulls for the Ford to do well. So keep it going out there, Dave.
Well, the Big Cheese is in one piece, but I think a pack of cigarettes just got squashed as Lionel DePratt in the Marlboro painted number 18 HPD just had contact with the wall.
We're going to look at the replay here. This is just out of the S's before you hit Dunlop. There you see. Managed to get it in the side instead of the nose, but boy, that was a hard hit there into the tires. Just
Ulmer out with a fast one.
Maybe.
17 seconds for John as we look there at DePratt.
I think Ulmer's one chance here is if Tinsley opts to take tyres and they don't work out for him.
Not sure if that is going to be the case, though. Our GT3 leader does not come in this time by Laurel Costa, going for another lap. 26 minutes left on the clock.
As does Haley.
As you mentioned, the less time is on the clock, less prone you are to take a new set of tyres.
Yeah, if I was a GT3 driver going to take tires, I would try to run that first stop as long as I could, take my tires then. So I get the most time out of it. With 26 minutes left, this really doesn't pay off to take the extra time to get the new rubber.
Here's the other thing to remember as well, Bill. We thought that Lauro had way too short of a pit stop, and yet he's still going.
Yeah.
Here's Tinsley into the pit.
Laura Costa. Here comes Tinsley.
All right, we don't expect this to be close between himself and John Ulmer, who's out and lapping, working his way through some traffic.
Unless iRacing makes Tinsey repair the nose.
That's the big question. He's still stationary in his stall. Simonic continues on. Gralty does not come in for pits, so they will inherit first and second. Now Tinsey is going and exiting out. Ulmer's just coming from the chicane.
Yeah, 20 seconds for Tinsey. He should be good from here now.
Starting to get the timing and scoring for it, though. And John actually did gain about 3 seconds, it looks, in that stop.
But Tinsey had been pulling away from him. I don't see any reason why Ulmer would start closing on him again.
That's a fair bet as far as my assessment goes.
Couple guys hoping for rain. Alex Simonic and Daniel Gralty now leading in the prototypes.
Things getting a little bit mixed up here in the midst of the pit stops. Some of the battles that we've been watching have started to separate. One that is not still is Jackman, as Tinsey goes through him, is still on the back of Dave Hill. So would two Canadians battling out on track be constant apologies, Bill?
Yes, be very polite.
I've always wondered how Robert Jackman communicates to his Jackman over the radio. Hey Jackman, do this. Hey Jackman, do that. Simonic in more important news.
So is Simonic going to be able to come back out in third is the question, as Gralty follows him in. Gralty the closest challenger for Alex, so it looks, unless Daniel gets a phenomenal pit stop, he should come back out in fourth, as Tinsey now re-inherits the lead, the 311 now into P1, and Ulmer as well slots up into P2.
3 wide on the front straight as Lionel Dupat goes by a couple of slower cars. That was a HPD, a GT1 of Kevin Santana, and a GT3 of Dave Hill, all 3 wide on the front straight. Made it work.
So as the solar eclipse manages to happen between our 3 classes.
Bradley
Haley.
Big one.
He made big contact with the wall.
And there go his championship chances.
Oh, disappointment for the Comet. Just too much gas and a wheel in the dirt coming out of the hairpin. You're going to see, catches it, and the nose makes a beeline for those multicolored barriers.
Right, Haley, the good news is his car's still going, and I don't think he's used his free repair yet. He's only a couple of turns away from the pits.
Now, did something happen to Gralty? Or did Dino Topic...
No, Topic jumped him. Topic jumped him on down the straight.
I heard some chatter on the radio between them about maybe some strategy, and I wasn't sure which driver they were talking about. Did Dino Topic take short fuel?
I don't think so. He took about 20 seconds. I think he's good to go. Gralty was only in there for 16.3. If anybody short fueled, it was him.
Our GT3 leaders are in, Costa and Haley. Obviously, the fight between Costa and Haley isn't going to be much of one right now, with Haley losing time with that spin. It will be interesting. And I was about to say it would be interesting to see where they come out with relation teams, but we see trouble for him now.
Oh, into Spoon. On entry, even, that Mercedes wants to swap ends, and that was the HPD of Matt Owens sneaking around the outside.
Sneaking around is a good use of words there, Joe. That's just what he did.
Going to watch on board here for the TMC Crimson driver. Saw it coming, used the wide runoff there very wisely. And the Canadian is able to continue on without any drama. Unfortunately, he is the last of our HPDs still out there on track.
Let's give a tip of the hat to the drivers. I think the last race we did, if memory serves, was at Phillip Island, and our director wore out his replay button. Little
little smoother.
Having a little bit of race here today.
Hopefully smoother for Costa, who is chasing down Rosenbaum, but Rosenbaum has yet to take his second stop as far as we're aware.
Yeah, no, he hasn't done that yet because Rosenbaum's been running about 4th in class all race, although with Oom's problems it'll be interesting to see if he can break into a podium spot.
Actually, right now, Dave Hill is in the podium spot. He is also yet to pit in the GT3s. Most of these guys known for going a little bit long.
Jackman, too, also has to come in.
Dave Hill also running 4th in that class, yet to take his stop. And Rosenbaum goes one more lap.
Let's feel the take when he comes in.
That was Sheldon.
Ryan Bird in a fight with Sean Reese here. Bird trying to come back up through the field. They're coming up on traffic in the form of Kevin Santana. Dutifully moves to the outside line. Lets the cars through. He's not battling anyone. Might as well let the cars fighting for position have the racing line. Closes in, coming up to 130R. Not brave enough to stick his nose into the inside, but can he try and make a move down into the Casio Triangle? Defensive line from Reese, just holding the middle of the road. As they return to the front stretch. This is our closest fight here in the prototypes. Everybody else is 4 seconds apart or more. Once again, a defensive line from Reese. This is again for that 6th position. And again, Reese is going to want to fight for these points, although it won't affect him too much. He is leading the AM Championship.
Oh, it almost slid off. Ulmer had a big off at Spoon, and he might lose second to Alex Simonik. Looking on the outside as they come up to 130R, blinking his headlights, nothing in front of him. He says, Ulmer, I'm intending to pass you. Ulmer going to try and hold his ground on the inside. That leads Simonik to run off. Let's see if they get through here cleaner than Senna and Prost.
Still holding side by side. A good run off the corner. Oh, gets chopped off at the nose by Ulmer, who finally denies him the spot. Now let's take a look at that replay, I think, as they've finally calmed down just a little bit. Talk us through this, Sam.
Must have happened entering Spoon. We've seen that happen a couple of times today. Because it's really difficult when you're coming out this long right hand, even though it's a straight. Balance of your car sometimes gets thrown off when you turn it to the left. I don't know if that's what caused him to spin, but one way or another, Ulmer lost the rear end of his car and almost lost the position.
Certainly looks to be the culprit as far as I'm concerned, but Simonik not giving up. Apologies to both Reese and Bird. I know their fight is close as well, but this is the more important one right now for that podium position. 2 podium positions. A little bit of a peek from Simonik, looking down to the inside and the hairpin.
Simonik was running with these guys early on. Remember, he had that spin and then another spin that pushed him back, but now with Ulmer's mistakes, he's back in the hunt. They qualified only a 1/10 of a second apart.
I was watching Ulmer's car really close on the entry of the Spoon that time around, Joe. The way he has the car set up, it really does seem to throw the rear end a little bit to help the car turn, and maybe that just got away from him.
Stretching out just a little bit as Simonik loses ground climbing up the hill. Ooh, and Simonik is pushing, going way wide off.
It could be a lot due to downforce.
Into the triangle. Boy, Simonik's lap time looking a little bit more like it's the Bermuda Triangle. Getting lost out there.
Ooms is in trouble again.
Just has not been Ooms' race here. We've been touting his consistency.
I think he may have just overshot the hairpin. He might have gotten away with it.
And Sheldon Rosenbaum stays out.
Boy, Rosenbaum, Hill, and Jackman all have been going a long time now. Hill and Jackman are coming up to the pit entry now, and one of them comes in. It's Hill. So the split car, the 4GT, finally comes in for gas with 15 minutes left to go on the clock.
Well, Rosenbaum pitted on lap number 19 for his first stop for the GT3s. Now, for the GT3 cars, it's actually only lap number 37. I know in the top left corner of your screen it says lap 41, but that's for our overall leader.
Right.
So he hasn't actually gone as far this run.
Yeah, I think Rosenbaum could go another 3 laps if he wanted to.
Normally, Costa might be a little bit worried about being held up here, but he's got an 18-second lead over Bradley Haley right now, so he is certainly not under threat. Can play as patient as he wants.
You know, we haven't talked about the GT1s for a while, but there's really nothing going on there. It's McGarvey, Peterson, Huff, Kundinger, Sockrider. There's no real battles between any of them.
6 still up for grabs. That fight has not relieved itself as Sean Reese tries to fend off Ryan Bird.
Ryan Bird has fought about just about everyone in the HPD class today.
Certainly seems like it. He gets a run up the hill. Is he going to try and brave it around the outside of 130R? And Reese lets him through. So, put Sean down into 7th. But Reese's cup is still half full as he knows that he's still got this AM championship in tow with DePratt still behind him.
Jeez.
My director did not like that one.
Took me a moment. Hey! Oh no, it's not. It's Robert Jackman coming in. Oh, and Simonic's off.
This is and the hairpin. This is all on his lonesome. And he leaves a big number 11 just sliding his way out to the kitty litter of the hairpin.
Yeah, this isn't what I caught. I saw Robert Jackman bringing these Mercedes into the pit, so his battle with Hill should soon resume. But originally I thought it was Rosenbaum coming in. The fact it was a blue Mercedes.
He said something, Simonic said something disconnected. Maybe it was his internet disconnected right as he's going into the hairpin. It has brought him back now into the sights of Dino Topic.
Hill comes out way ahead of Jackman. We just saw Jackman.
Simonic is loose.
Whoa! I'd say there's some sort of hardware failure maybe with Simonic, or was that... Oh no, he was trying to avoid DePratt, who was extremely slow into there.
Topic moves up into a podium position.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think there was anything wrong with DePratt. Oh, he's way too hot. Coming in hotter than a curling iron on Venus. Took that thing into the apex, Mike, into the triangle.
he didn't hit anything, thank goodness, and he's still out there, but all this craziness has now moved the 000 of Dino Topic onto the podium. These last spots are just positions in the HPDs that nobody wants.
Alright, so let's keep the camera off of Topic for the rest of the broadcast because he's had really a season of misfortune. And here we go. Look at Tinsey instead. Yeah, if we give Tinsey some more misfortune, that'll just mean Ulmer gets closer. We'll have a fight up front for the overall win in the last 10 minutes. Meanwhile, Sheldon Rosenbaum's pit crew is standing in the pits, very bored.
Lauro Costa's been trailing him, hasn't made any attempts to try and pass either. He's going to have Carter Kundinger waiting behind him to try and get through here as well. That's the 4th place car in the GT1s.
And Bird right behind them.
All three classes there together at once. This bird is able to get by around the outside. "11 minutes left on the clock. A lot of the top positions pretty well solidified, although a few battles do remain here at Suzuka. If you're just joining us, this is the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Our leaders in each class, Robert Tinsey, up at the front of the HPD's 22nd lead over Ulmer. Looking like he can run away with this one easily. Stephen McGarvey with a handy lead of his own in the GT1s over Leif Peterson of about 14 seconds. Sheldon Rosenbaum is our leader, but that's changing right now as he finally comes in. And Lauro Costa, now your leader in the GT3s by a good, oh goodness, by probably about 20 seconds.
I think Rosenbaum can come out of the pits in third, because Jeffrey Ooms, last time I checked, was about half a lap behind him.
Yeah, he's just coming out of Spoon right now. And Rosenbaum's only needs to take on 10 minutes of fuel, so I think he's got a good chance at it.
It's already rolling.
Yep. The Texan ran it till it was dry, and now as he comes out, Ooms is only just coming out of the chicane, so yeah, Rosenbaum has handily got this position. This has been his MO pretty much all season, Sam. Just run your own race quietly, don't worry about anybody else, and get into those podium spots.
And if you were to take Jeffrey Ooms out of this race, the top 5 in GT3 right now is the same way they sit in the points.
Very convenient. Ulmer and...
Not for everyone who's not named Costa.
Guys in the graphic department like that.
Well, Ulmer and Santana being held up just a little bit here by Rosenbaum, not intentionally, just catching him at an awkward spot. Well, Tinsey finally able to get through Santana. And now Rosenbaum, as our overall leader, continues to rifle off the laps. With 8.5 minutes left to go, I'm looking through to see if there's a battle.
having more trouble.
Yes, he was trying to run down Gralty, and the closer he gets to a car, the more trouble he gets into.
He went in way hot once again. I wonder if maybe something is wrong with his brakes.
Yeah, something definitely.
iRacing doesn't have brake failures, but you could always have a bit of an issue with your brakes on your pedals at home.
From what I understand, if you get a little dirt and grit in them, maybe the sensors aren't working quite correctly on them sometimes, so...
I remember the biggest at-home mechanical failure I ever had was when my steering wheel came loose off of a desk for like the final 2 laps of a Spec Racer Ford race at Mid-Ohio. I basically had to hold the steering wheel up in the air to finish the last couple of laps.
I imagine a number of sim racers have experienced that panic over the course of their career on iRacing here.
Joe, I do appreciate the dirt in the brake pedal excuse. I'm keeping that one on file next time I punch somebody.
That's a legit thing that happens. I've heard of that happening to drivers here on iRacing.
All right.
My favourite one is still a guy on the iRacing forum who said he once had to retire from a race because his pet cat came in and dropped a dead snake on his lap.
I remember that one. Thankfully dead. Would have been a little worse if it was still alive.
Not a battle to be found in the GT1 still. McGarvey, Peterson, Huff, 1, 2, 3.
I tell you what, though, credit to McGarvey. You know, he had to do something this race, and he is not going to take maximum points out. I think he wasn't on pole, was he? No, he was not. And I don't think he was without incidents. They do get bonus points for 0x on their incidents for a race. But still, first place is the best you can do out there on track. And Stephen McGarvey, unless he makes a major mistake, should be able to take that home over Leif Peterson, and critically, without his main championship rival having taken part today.
Will be interesting to see how many 0Xs there are at the end of a race, drivers who have run a completely clean race, because a lot of drivers have been putting a couple wheels off at turns such as 130R, where a Formula 1 car can do it flat out. These cars, not quite.
Give a shout out to Swirly Wojciech Sviridovich. I know he's watching from Sviridovich, watching from his vacation. Hope you're having a good time. We missed you. See you next week. Leader of your GT1s.
I actually wonder, he only has, doesn't he have about 4 pocket points, Bill? What's the situation on the points there?
I think Sviridovich is in pretty good shape. I think he's going to be okay. Laura Costa cannot afford. He's the guy who's really in jeopardy. Even though he has a substantial lead, he only has a few pocket points, so...
Yes, he's having a good race today, though.
Yep. So is Bradley Haley, or the mistake. Oh, Simonic. Something definitely going wrong.
This time into the S's, and it wasn't his brakes this time. I'd say that was Jeffrey Ooms, who's had his own share of problems. Just trying to tail him a little bit too close and shook himself off the track.
Four minutes and 43 seconds left of racing. Not going to go fast enough for Simonic.
Who's off again?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, keeping an eye on Robert Tinsey, who's coming into 130R right now. We'll get an idea of how many laps there are left when he crosses the line.
Oh, and Simonic put it in the wall. Nosed it in.
Need to...
Don't think Simonic's going to be one of those drivers getting the bonus points for 0X.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet there. So right on board on the replay. I'd almost want to bring him in for an interview after this to find out what is going on, and he's off again. And this time he hit a lot harder into Spoon, and he toes.
He's just trying to bring it home.
Yeah, a hard-fought race for the 250, and he can't even take the checkered flag. 3 minutes from the end.
He's officially retired, so that will move Ryan Bird, who's had the most eventful race of anyone today, really up into the top 5.
And Alex Simonic has come on the chat saying a set of pedals are for sale.
Not sure how many takers he's going to get
yeah,
after this race.
You want those, Bill? You might go faster, Bill. Just not in the places
but this
you want.
won't be able to turn.
There we see Daniel Giralti, who is now up into 4th after all that drama. Ryan Bird's going to take home a top 5 here today. Santana's been having a couple offs here. He gets another here in the GT1s. He's trying to catch David Sockrider. But that's not the driver he wants to worry about. It's Matt Owens, who is actually not in the class. I believe Matt is permanently moved over to the HPDs.
Back to live action, and look at the clock in the top left corner. It says 2 minutes, 20 seconds left as Tinsey crosses the line. So 2 laps left to go. And
a reminder for Bill and for our viewers that the finish line is the first line that we get across here at Suzuka. So it's very early on the pits.
I've never understood why they do that.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir now, Sam. I've called too many races that were over 400 yards earlier.
From what I understand, Formula One has something to do with it. I know they tend to use that as their finish line, even though the start line is a little bit farther down. And I was given the reason once, but it's lost to my memory. I don't know if one of our viewers in the chat knows the reasoning for that and wants to chip in. So we watch our GT3 leader, Lauro Costa, with that lead of about 18 seconds over Bradley Haley. Haley was his main rival here. And with this giving him, let's Let's see, I should be about 3 more points. Ooh, Haley almost chopped off the car of David Sockrider there. Oh, and he gets loose, and he gets punted from behind. Sockrider trying to collect it back together.
And
he gets into the wall.
Well, and Sockrider was trying to get by him because Kevin Santana was right behind him for position, that black car in the background.
And Sockrider was trying to argue that he shoved him off course. I think that was just a case of him getting loose in front of him and Sockrider not anticipating it.
White flag in the air.
Tinsley with 1 more lap to go. And I'd have to do my math here, Bill, but I'm pretty certain even if they do include 1 more race with Le Mans, I think this is going to seal it no matter what. Because he's still going to have those 60 pocket points, and he's going to gain just a couple more.
A pair of 30s in his pocket is going to seem pretty much impossible to catch him.
Exactly, and with Ulmer already having to gain, I believe it's 12 points on him, and already having to get a perfect race to gain him here in this situation, gaining 3 would mean that it would be without of reach. Honestly, I think even if he wrecked the car and slipped down to what would be 7th, I believe, he would still be able to come home with this championship.
Topic might not get 3rd, by the way. Daniel Grolte is not far behind him on the final lap here.
And we've got a little bit of an update from Simonik. He's let us know that his pedals were disconnecting from his computer. So it wasn't dirt, Bill, but might as well have been. Might want to invest in a new USB input as one more time. Tinsley takes it through the extra pit lane there. We missed it on screen, but this time he didn't lose a nose.
Why?
As for Robert Tinsley, I don't know. You'll have to ask Bob the Blade. I'll let you interview him if you want, Sam, as he comes across the line. Robert Tinsley is going to take the win, and we believe the championship for the HPDs here at Suzuka.
Ulmer and Topic will get podium finishes ahead of them because Grolte is too far back from Topic. But then right behind them we actually have our GT3 leader will cross just shortly before our GT1 leader, and that's Lauro Costa making his way through the Casino Triangle now in that number 4 machine. A Santa Sana squash banana. Lauro Costa, the Brazilian man, comes into the pits to win the race.
Does he know that it's the white flag, that it's the last lap? As McGarvey crosses the line, and he's going to take the win there in the GT1s. Boy, I guess he cut it a little bit too close again. This time he learned his lesson. Just take it to the end, as Haley is going to take 2nd in that class, just shy of what could have been. What a bizarre finish for the GT3s. With that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Stick around because on screen we're going to have all the upcoming races here on GSRC, and after that, we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Suzuka International Circuit. We just watched the penultimate round here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Robert Tinsley came home with the win and we believe has sealed his championship crown once again here in the HPDs. John Ulmer managed to finish about 13 seconds back, with Dino Topic going through some dramas, still managing to get a podium, coming home in third. Danu Gralti just behind him in fourth, not far back at all at the line. Ryan Bird with a nice top 5 for himself. Sean Reese comes home in sixth with Jumbo Pfeiffer in seventh. P8 will be Lionel Duprat. Mark Wilson comes home in ninth, and then rounding out our HPDs that managed to finish in 10th, it was Matt Owen. Bill?
Winners of the GT1s, after he got around Leif Peterson, it was clear sailing for Stephen McGarvey. He picks up the win, closes in a little bit on the points championship. Peterson in his Corvette's going to finish second in class, just ahead of Ryan Huff, who rounds out the overlay. Mixed in there is Alex Simonik in the prototype. Then you get down to two more GT1 drivers. Carter Kundinger, boy, he had an eventful race. He finishes fourth, just ahead of Kevin Santana. And then we get to the GT3 winner. Sam?
Yeah, and that was Laura Costa, followed by Bradley Haley, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Jeffrey Ooms, and Dave Hill, rounding out the top 5 in GT3. Dave Hill having that race-long battle with Robert Jackman, who finished 6th in GT3s. Very few GT1 and prototype drivers down here after quite a clean race. David Sockrider, Paul Lindsay, and Jason Gerard were the 3 exceptions to those. We had David Tejada was 7th in GT3, ahead of Robert Sklenka, Miguel Meyer, and Jim McGuinness, rounding out the top 10. The bottom end of that order did not finish the race. Mark Kudrowski and Armando Edwards, 11th and 12th in class.
That's our field. However, for our interviews, first up, we have our winner and potential champion in the HPDs, and that is Robert Tinsley, who comes home with another definitive win. Bob, by our math, you've taken not just today's race, but the points fight. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. Really close right to the end there. Got me a little nervous. I still don't know if they're going to do the Le Mans remake, but yeah, we'll see.
And the good news for you is we believe that even if they hold that extra race, the math shows that you should still have the championship no matter what. Well, the one question that a lot of our viewers and we want to know, why the detour through the pits twice?
Just for fun. Well, I felt bad for John when he spun in front of me, so I was trying to slow myself down a little bit. Just I didn't want to run too far away right away. You know, I wanted to keep it fun for, you know, the viewers and whatnot too.
It kept us guessing. We weren't quite sure what was going on there. The next round that we have is going to be at Motagan, if I understand right. That is going to be at night. Do you consider visibility a problem there, or does that not really worry you when you go to that version of the track?
Normally it is a little bit, but what I do is I really bump up the contrast on my monitors really high, so it doesn't really look great, but you can see everything so much clearer.
Yeah, the little tricks that we can use at sim racing can't necessarily use in real life. Well, again, congratulations. Go enjoy your victory and your championship.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Robert Bob the Blade Tinsley, our winner overall here today. Now, I don't see our GT1 winner, so let's skip over to the GT3s, where Lauro Costa took the win today, and Sam was going to ask him about what was a very, very late pit stop.
Yeah, Lauro, you crossed the line in pit road. Were you doing your best Michael Schumacher impersonation there?
Yeah, that was a repeat for what I did at Le Mans. At Le Mans, it didn't count. The points didn't count, but so I had to do it again.
Well, at the end of the day, you still brought home the win, but I'll tell you what, it definitely wasn't easy. You, Bradley Haley, and Jeffrey Ooms running nose to tail throughout the first half of the race. You finally built up a gap on them in the closing stages, though.
Yeah, they got my attention on that first stint. They were able to stay really, really close to my bumper, and they they can drive really deep on turn 1 and 2, and I was looking at my mirrors all the time. I was happy to not have them on my draft and on my mirrors for the second and third stint. That made my race a lot easier, of course.
And not only did it make your race a lot easier, but this victory has probably made your championship fight a lot easier.
Yeah, it's looking good. I'm racing more for the wins, and I lost count of them. That means I did well this championship. I'm happy with that. Championship points, anything could happen. Disconnection, something weird, a wreck. So I don't pay too much attention to that. But the number of wins, it's a lot more than I expected when I started the season. So I'm very, very happy with that. I'm very happy about how much I learned about the car during the season and how much I improved my setups from first race to now. So really positive season so far. I hope we have a great season end next week.
Now, Lauro, during the course of a race, we get kind of hungry up in the commentary box. We were thinking about food that comes from Brazil, and somehow the topic of banana comes up. I've got to ask, what's your favourite food produced out of your home country?
Is the churrasco. Do you know what churrasco means? It's sort of barbecue, but better.
Sounds great. I'll have to give it a try. Thanks for coming to talk to us, Laura. We wish you the best of luck in the final race.
Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed the race.
That was our winner in the GT3 class, Lauro Costa.
Better than barbecue. I'm on board for that one. Yeah,
give me some too. Well, Bill, before you get to sit down and eat, unfortunately, you do have to talk to Kevin Santana, who raced over in the GT1 class, and I believe he may have sealed up his amateur championship. That might still be up for grabs, but whatever the case, he extends his lead.
Kevin, we don't get to talk to you very much. I saw that you were in the interview booth. I said, hey, let's have a chance to talk to Kevin Santana. Top 5 today. Congratulations.
Yeah, it should have been a little better, but unfortunately my screen decided to freeze up right before it starts.
That'll slow you down. How were you able to fix that? Did you have to, you were slow getting started?
Yeah, that's why I had to start from the pits. I ended up having to shut it down, and because the sim part of it stopped working.
Now, if memory serves, you were racing the prototypes for a while. How do you like the GT1s?
Does anybody have an M80 I can stick in a gas tank?
Well, come on. It's a little slower for you, huh?
I don't like the way they drive. I can't stand the things. I'll be glad when the season's over.
Gonna go back to the prototypes, or are you gonna switch?
Oh, I'm contemplating going to GT3.
There you go. Oh, competition's tough down there. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How long you been sim racing?
Oh, I've been on here since I think it's like 2008. But other than that, I just live in West Virginia.
Getting a little late for you there. So, as we close out next time we're going, we just talked to Robert Tinsey about racing in the dark at when we go to, where are we going to go to? Motegi? Is that where we're going to close this thing out? Is that a problem for you there?
Nah, just turn the lights off in the basement. I'll be good.
There you go. Always nice. Romantic racing. All right. Hey, Kevin, congratulations. Good luck on the AM Championship. That looks like it's going to come your way.
Well, thank you.
All right. Kevin Santana, 5th place driver today. Joe?
We've got one more driver to talk to, and that's our 3rd place finisher in the prototypes, Dino Topic, who is up and down the order and all over the place as everybody around him, as well as himself, had troubles to try and contend with. Dino, this seemed like a little bit of a wild one for you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you weren't alone, so you don't need to be too embarrassed if you had any offs throughout the race. But still, a podium is something to be proud of, I'm sure, at a place like Suzuka.
Yes, definitely. I do like the track. Unfortunately, I had a chronic lack of practice for this whole season. But it turns out pretty well. John has always shared the setup and just put in some laps. I didn't realize it was a 90-minute race, so I was pretty happy about that. The tire or lack of tire changes worked in my favor to a point where Daniel caught up right at the end because Alex had his own issues. So I was really aiming just to stay in front of Daniel, Ryan Bird, and Mark Wilson because we're the closest in the points. So I think overall was pretty good. I did get into back of Mark, just outbroke myself, didn't expect him to be that slow. But I think there was like a GT car in front of him in the chicane. And yeah, I did go wide a few times just to stay safe, I guess.
Yeah, and it's hopefully, well, not hopefully, we know you didn't go over the incident limit with that. So I know that when you got onto the HPD, it was a bit of a mistake the first time, and then you wound up just kind of sticking with it. With this season not going so hot for you in this car, though, up until recently, are you planning on staying in this class for next season? Do you think you might switch? How are your feelings on it after one full season now?
I think I'll stick with it unless something drastic changes. But I like it. It's a challenge. I like a good challenge. So, just need to put in more laps in. That's really what it is.
Practice makes perfect for sure. Well, again, congratulations on a podium today, and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much, and great broadcast as always.
Thank you. That was Dino Topic, third place finisher here at Suzuka. We're going to close up here. Of course, we want to thank the Autobahn Motorcar Group for being the official sponsor of this series, and of course to John Ulmer for all the organization work that he does behind the scenes. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed there on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Heckholm and Casey Lalonde who provide the music for these broadcasts. Their contacts can be found listed on how to find more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. The next race we mentioned going to be at Motegi, another trip to Japan here. This will be a lot darker. It's a nighttime race, and only part of the track is lit up by lights. That'll be Monday, August 7th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.